So Cathie Wood just dropped a massive bombshell about the stock market, and she's not the only one.
Joining me now with an exclusive interview on the exchange is Cathie Wood, CEO, Chief Investment Officer of ARK Invest.
And in this video, I'm going to show you 4 different top-of-the-line experts, Dan Ives, Cathie Wood, Munster, and a few others, and how they're looking at the market in 2024. Now let's start with Cathie Wood.
Interest rates and inflation seem to be under control. We do believe we're going to see deflation next year, and that the Fed will have to cut pretty aggressively. But we do think we're on the other side of the horror show we went through. Now we're diversifying more.
Okay.
And we should we expect the IPO window to open up again. There are a lot of companies out there starved for capital.
So Cathie Wood just went on CNBC and she spoke about how ARK is preparing for 2024. Now, obviously, she's not one to spoon feed you, exactly telling you how much stocks will do in 2024. But based on her answer, we can learn a whole lot about what she thinks about 2024. Now, you may agree or disagree with her, but when Cathie Wood says we're no longer contracting into our high conviction stocks, instead we're expanding and diversifying, that means that ARK is going on offense. Cathie Wood and ARK are known for the strategy. And you may agree or disagree, but that's how they play. They contract when times are bad, they expand, and they diversify when times are good. So when Cathie Wood tells you, hey, we're starting to diversify, we're starting to open up, that means they foresee a very positive 2024. Now, she's talking about more IPOs, pay attention. She's talking about a hunger for money. And it doesn't mean that we can't have bad weeks or even bad months. We may have rough times ahead. The market isn't going to move linearly. But what she's saying that in overall, when we look back in December next year, we're going to look at a very good year for stocks. Now, that's her approach. You might agree, you may disagree, but what she's saying is that, look, the Fed is moving into a more accommodating monetary policy. Because the Fed will be more lenient, businesses will have more capital. That more capital is going to be translated into expansion of revenues, expansions of profits. People will have more money in their pockets, they'll spend more. A whole new cycle will drive both the economy and the stock market up. That's her approach. Now, let's talk about Dan Greenhouse from Solos.
I mean, obviously there's overbought conditions that need to be worked off, but to the extent that the market was, I'll use the word insular, but that's probably not the right word. It's been very narrow.
Until lately.
Yeah, so for the whole year, only 3 sectors have outperformed. But over the last month, over the last fourth quarter, 6 sectors have outperformed. So you've seen the rally broaden out. We all know this. All else equal, I take that as a positive sign. And for right now, the likely outcome is that the market continues to move higher, at least for the next couple of months. I see no evidence in the short term here that that's going to abate.
So Dan Greenhouse is looking at this from a little bit of a different perspective. Now, Dan Greenhouse says, look, 2022 was a horrible year. Yes, 2023 was much, much better. When you combine both of them, we're not in an overbought territory yet because the market only did 6 to 8% when you look at 24 months. The S&P 500 basically did what it lost in 2022 back in 2023. So nothing crazy has happened yet. But he's also saying, look, we haven't really landed yet. The talk about a soft landing being a thing is a little bit premature. The soft landing will happen once the Fed lowers the rates towards the 3% area. Then, if the economy doesn't crash, we've landed. But what he's saying here is very interesting. He's saying, look, nothing in the next 6 months scares me from a macro perspective. Because what he's saying, look, inflation is on its way down. Energy is on its way down. Housing will come down in the winter, as it always does. And the job market is still doing fine. So in the macro perspective that he's focusing on, there's nothing that's supposed to drive the stocks into a very dangerous territory in 2024. So his positivity is coming from macro, unlike Cathie Wood's, that's coming from a more monetary policy from the Fed. But on top of it, we have Munster.
We believe that we're going to have a 3 to 5 year bull market when it comes to these tech companies, not just the Mag 7, but I think a lot of the other sub $100 billion companies. I think maybe said a different way, I think we're in 1995 and there's a huge run that's going to come up over the next 3 to 5 years.
He says, essentially, this is the 4 years before the dot-com bubble peaked and then popped. And he actually also says this, yes, the AI bubble will eventually pop, but we are in the beginning stages of it, and we're years ahead from that moment, in those 3 to 5 years until it pops, there's going to be a lot of money being made by the companies who are in the AI industry. And that's why he's seeing a lot of bullishness from AI spilling over to tech, spilling over to the rest of the market. And then, of course, we also have Dan Ives.
When I look at street numbers for 2024 across tech, specifically when I look at software, even big tech, I think potentially underestimated by 5, 7, 10%. So when you look over the next few years, even some of the bears now, they're coming out of their caves out of hibernation mode, starting to maybe reevaluate some of these names in terms of what the growth could look like. And that's why I think Magnificent 7, I believe it's up 30% over the next year. But I think in terms of overall tech, we sit here a year from now, I think tech's up another 25% because of this transformational AI revolution that's now here.
But then Ives talks about a specific thing. He says, look, enterprise software is going to lead the charge in 2024. And then he also talks about a new bull market being led, and he names a few companies, Palantir included. Again, he's also focusing both on AI, but his specific is that he looks at expectations. He said, look, in my opinion, expectations are understated by 5 to 10%. So if expectations are not as high as they should be, that means a higher percentage of companies will beat earnings in 2024, leading to a very positive reaction from the stock market. And that's why he's saying, look, in 2024, the Magnificent Seven, which is the Apples, the Microsofts, the Googles, you know, the Magnificent Seven, right? They'll do 30%. But the entire tech market is not going to be far behind with about 25%. And if you combine what these four experts are saying, they're giving you four angles into one picture. One is saying, look, expectations are too low. We're going to have a lot of positive surprises that's going to drive the market up. The other one is saying, look, AI is going to be a huge bubble. We're just beginning. There's 3 to 5 more years of this. So this is going to be the first big year for AI. You haven't seen nothing yet. Another one is talking about macro and talking about the conditions are very, very solid for the market and the economy isn't going to do anything to stop this bull run. And then we have Cathie Wood talking about the Fed rate, the Fed policy basically starting to be more lenient, more capital going into the markets, driving stocks up as it happened during COVID. Now, look, all of them might be wrong. All of them might be just rambling like madmen. They're just humans. And when you're trying to predict the future, inherently, you're probably wrong. Now, Lord knows I had my share of bad calls in the past. Everybody had. But what we know right now, the data that we have right now at the end of December of 2023, it seems that these guys are on point. It doesn't mean we're not going to have bad times, bad spots, weeks, maybe even months. But at the end of the day, unless something changes dramatically, and of course it can be, we're living in a very crazy world right now. But unless things change dramatically, it seems like we're primed for a good 2024, which means you have to start looking for candidates for capital deployment for the next year. Because at the end of the day, we're all capital allocators. Now, if you want to get better at allocating capital, at finding good companies, at analyzing potential investment opportunities, join our academy, patreon.com/Tom Nash. You can try it out, 30 days money back guarantee to every single one who joins. We do a lot of work in the trenches, explaining to you how to analyze, how to do your own work, how to analyze for yourself. We're not giving you stocks. We're teaching you how to fish. Join us, check it out for a week or two, see if it's for you. We would love to have you on there. And of course, we have a great Discord community. Again, we'd love to see you there as well. Thank you so much. We'll see you in 2024.